scale from 1 to 5, 6.
What it is, y'all? Welcome to a brand new episode of U Buggin. I am your host, your boy Alan C, and the place to be. Merry Christmas to all. Happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, man. It's been, you see our new banner back there. Shout out to my family. But yeah, let's just get right into it, man. Y'all know how I start off every show. Very appreciative of my fellows who allowed me to really fall in love with this podcasting, man. My sideline talk family. Herb, shout out. My brother Tay, shout out. John, shout out. Man, I appreciate y'all boys. But let's get right into it. Y'all know, follow Al U Buggin on X and Instagram at Al_U_Buggin. Follow Al_U_Buggin. All right. First thing we're going to talk about, Razor Charm. Chiefs is one step closer to a three-peat after Christmas Day, dominating the Pittsburgh Steelers. They clinched the AFC West a few weeks ago. Now they have clinched the AFC's number one seed, which ensures them having a first-round bye. And the road to the Super Bowl goes through Kansas City, as it should. I mean, they are 16-1. 15-1. Going for 16-1 next week if they play. Like I said, they're 15-1. The road goes through them. And as it stands right now, they get to avoid Baltimore and Buffalo for that first round matchup. If everything stays the same, Buffalo has already clinched the AFC East, but that 2 and 3 could switch. They can't fall to 4, so chances are that they will avoid Buffalo that first week. And if Baltimore holds on and wins against Cleveland, Baltimore will clinch the third spot, and that would assure that Kansas City doesn't play Baltimore or Buffalo that very first game in the playoffs. So only way they would see Buffalo or Baltimore would be in the conference championship. That's why that number one seed is very important. You don't want to go cold, potentially miss 2 weeks, and then come out against one of the hottest AFC teams in the league. So that number one spot for them is clutch. Chances are right now they'll be playing Houston. They could be playing the Steelers, who they just demolished on Christmas. Or they could be playing one of the two teams who they've already played twice this year. And Denver, who has a shot at that number 7 spot. They damn sure don't want to see the Bengals at the number 7 spot. Anything can happen with Cincinnati. And that 6th spot right now goes to the Chargers. So they've already beat both of those teams so far this year. Swept the Chargers already. I believe they got one more matchup with the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken, at the last week of the year. So right now they're 3-0, going potentially 4-0 against the teams that they could be playing. Potentially 5-0 if it's the Steelers for the teams that they'd be playing that first playoff game. But while we on the Steelers, man, the Steelers in trouble. Y'all know Mike Tomlin has been coaching the Steelers and as the longest tenured head coach with one spot. Now that Bill Belichick is no longer a Patriots coach, Mike Tomlin holds that number one spot. They always go at least 8 wins, and they're one of 2 franchises that have 6 Super Bowl rings. So making it to the playoffs is not foreign to them. and it shouldn't even really be a goal anymore for the Steelers. We're talking about beyond making it to the playoffs. Do you have a deep run in you? Is there a deep run in this team? I do not see it after the way that they not only lost 3 games in a row in these last 10 days, they lost the lead they had in the AFC North, and they were dominated by the Chiefs and by the Ravens in back-to-back weeks. And truth be told, they were pushed around by the Eagles. That's 3 right there of the top 5, 6 teams that you want to say. If you look at my power rankings, I have all 3 of those in the top 6. The lowest being the Ravens, and the Ravens doubled them. So I don't think it's particularly looking good for the Steelers this year when it comes to making a deep playoff run. It's not just the Baltimore fan in me speaking either. When I seen the Steelers play, I was like, man, if you can get to, I think it was a race to 28. I think it was like a race to 20 when Justin Fields was the quarterback. Then when Russ came in and he started moving the ball a little bit more, I was like, all right, maybe we should rush to 30, rush to 28, somewhere around there. If you get there, then chances are you beat the Steelers, and all 3 of these teams last 3 weeks got to at least 20 something against them. And if their defense is not bailing them out, George Pickens it's very easy to take out of his game. He's a head case. He's a hell of a talent, but he's a head case. Steelers just don't look as dominant as they should or would normally look. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I think the Steelers might be one and done. They go up against the Texans, or I will talk about in a minute. They could be one and done in the playoffs, and that would not be a good look after going and getting the 10 wins so quick. I think they were 10-3 at one point, and now they're 10-6. So, all right. Speaking of the Steelers, Lord, I don't even know how I spelled that. Oh my gosh, let's take that off of there for a second. You know who the heck Russ Lee is. All right. Sorry. Doing this on the fly, man. Y'all know it's morning. It's early morning. Good morning, y'all. So Russ or Russ? Should Russell be the quarterback moving forward for the Steelers? Now, they signed 2 quarterbacks fairly cheap in this offseason, and they were doing pretty well with both of them. But Russell is older. Russ gave you the most upside for right now. And for right now, you cannot compete with the top teams in this league. So do you go ahead and pay Russ enough a year to stay, or you move on from Russ and pay Justin Fields to develop is the question. Now, as you think long and hard on this question, do you think either one of them are your future is a question. It should be a question. Do you think you need to invest some capital when bringing in offensive linemen? And in that case, how much do you pay a quarterback? How much is Russ looking to make for you to bring in linemen, for you to bring in wide receivers? You know, you might need somewhere else on defense. I believe your defense is stout, but they ain't stopping the best teams. And it could be because your offense can't get off the field, or it could be you may need another spot on defense. So it's called U Buggin. I might be bugging, but I'm going to stick with Justin Fields, honestly, moving forward. If he's a cheaper option, I think you could develop him, put some talent around him, and see what you get. Mike Tomlin, like I said, he's always winning 8 games at the bare minimum with, Duck Hodges, with Mason Rudolph, with Kenny Pickett. You can win 8 with Justin Fields. You could compete for the division with Justin Fields. And hell, if you put enough pieces around him, you might even get to that playoff wins and deep playoff drive or run that you potentially could go on. I would think it's time to move on from Russ and go ahead, throw in Justin Fields and develop him. This is not a good QB draft. So by the time you get to where you're picking, because you already have 10 wins, let's just say you don't win anything. You just say you don't win your next game, you don't win another game this year. If you are when you are a playoff team, so that's at least, bottom 14 pick. All the quarterbacks in the draft are going to be gone that are first round talent. Now you may pick up in the second or third round, you may get someone like a Mr. D. Carson back out of Georgia, like a Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, which is second round pick or third round pick. But first round, you might be looking at Luther Burden, wide receiver. You may, because T-Mac and Travis Hunter be long gone by then. That may be where you want to spend your first round. You may even want to look at some of the offensive tackles that's late in the draft to bold up this offensive line. But I don't think you get much better between Russell and Justin Fields, and the runway is a lot longer with Justin Fields than it is with Russell. So I think Russell should be moving on. I think Russell actually would be a good mentor either in the Giants for Shador or in Las Vegas with Cam Ward. I think Russ would be a good job to start out there with these young guys, these new guys that are coming in. One of these teams potentially, need that veteran figurehead. And you got Russ and you got Aaron Rodgers and possibly Sam Darnold. Would be a mistake, but possibly Brock Purdy to be, one of the franchise leaders as potential free agent quarterbacks. But out of those four, to me, Russ is the better leader. Between Russell, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, and Brock Purdy, Russ is by far the better leader. There's definitely going to be a market in the early market for Russell, especially for one of these teams that's getting a young quarterback that might need some time to develop, that might not, be ready to run an organization, might not be able to galvanize an organization. Russ is definitely going to have a market for that. Right? All right. That's enough about them. You see who it is back there. Lamar Jackson. Lamar had over 200 yards combined on Christmas against the Texans, 3 total touchdowns against the Texans, is now the all-time leader for rushing yards by a quarterback. He got one over Mike Vick, and he didn't even play in the fourth quarter. But should he be the front runner for MVP? This has been debated amongst ESPN, FS1, and many other podcasts across the nation, just like this one. Here's my 2 cents on it. If we're going to keep the same energy that we had last year when Lamar Jackson didn't have the best stats, but led the best team, Josh Allen is ahead of Lamar Jackson. He got the 2, Lamar has the 3, so therefore Josh Allen should be MVP. But would that be keeping the same energy? Because Josh Allen is not the number 1 seed like Lamar Jackson was last year. Josh Allen did beat the number 1 seed, but he's not the number 1 seed. Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens clinched the number 1 seed last year. They destroyed teams like Detroit. They destroyed the Miami Dolphins, Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers. So they were beating top teams. As it stands right now, the Bills have lost to the Ravens. The Bills have lost to the Texans, and those are the two of the top two of the four that's in that top spot. They did beat. Like I said, they did beat the Chiefs. They lost to the Rams in the NFC. So is that keeping the same energy? I think Lamar's having a hell of a season. Again, it's better than his last two MVP seasons. If I had to vote, if I had a vote and I had to give it to one person, bias aside, it would be Josh Allen, and Lamar would be Offensive Player of the Year, because the word valuable means who's more valuable to their team. Yes, I believe that both teams would not be making the playoffs if it wasn't for their quarterbacks. And both quarterbacks are playing absolutely phenomenal. But I think Lamar Jackson is the more offensive weapon. He's leading the league and over Josh Allen in every stat besides rushing touchdowns. So he's Offensive Player of the Year. Most valuable, I would give it to the guy who has his team ranked higher, which would be Josh Allen. Again, out of putting my personal bias to the side, you see Lamar right over my shoulder. I just don't. It feels like it's a Josh Allen MVP type year. I've been saying it since second week of the season. I'm going to keep that same energy, as they say, and just give it. I say Josh is the MVP. Lamar is Offensive Player of the Year for the AFC, and Josh is All-Pro first team. Lamar is All-Pro second team quarterback. That's how I'm settling that. But like I said, Lamar and the Ravens dismantled the Texans 31-2. And because it was 31-2, what happened to Houston's offense? Their offense was MIA, and not Miami's high-flying offense. I'm talking about missing in action. Let's break down C.J. Stroud. Did we crown him way too early? I think we handed out a crown in Houston way too early. Now, I thought he was in line to take that fifth spot of, after the big four of Lamar, Josh, Pat, and Burrow. I thought CJ would be right there at that 5. He has not looked like that same quarterback. And truth be told, Bryce Young over the last 8 weeks has played a whole lot better than C.J. Stroud has. Bryce Young has looked like the number 1 pick, and C.J. Stroud looked like the 2. When, before that, any time before that, C.J. Stroud looked like he should have been the number 1 pick, and Bryce Young was looking almost like a bust. I hate to use the B word for a kid that's only in his second year, but Bryce was not grasping the concept of being an NFL quarterback, didn't look poised, looked like he was seeing ghosts. And now CJ, as a second-year guy, is doing what I saw from rookie Bryce Young, not trusting the line, not stepping out of situations. Like I said, he was hit numerous times against the Ravens. So I'm not saying that they didn't get pressure, but even when they didn't have pressure and he was blocked, he would not step around, he would not step out, not step up. And if CJ is not going to be as explosive, this Houston team is very vulnerable. Shout out to Tank Dell with his tragic injury and everything he's been going through. I mean, he's going to miss the rest of this year for sure. Probably going to miss all of 2025 because that injury happened so late. And who knows how he's going to be in 2026, man. Hopefully he could bounce back and continue his amazing start to his career. But damn, that knee injury that he suffered, where it was MCL, ACL, and PCL, I believe, all 3 were torn. They got to reconstruct, and then you got to pretty much learn everything again. Running, get strong enough to run and cut and plant and do all of that and still keep up his speed. Man, it's going to be it's a long, tough rehab, man. My hats off to him. Shouts out to him. But back to CJ. CJ needs to, can't just always be Nico. He needs to read that field a lot more and a lot better than he was doing. He was doing it well his rookie year. His second year, he's just regressed. I have no idea what's going on with CJ. But he's just not playing as well as he should, as well as he could. So, like I said, they've already clinched the 4, and I would not play him next week. I would let him get his mind together. They are probably they're either going to play the Ravens or the Steelers. In their first week, if the Ravens win against Cleveland, they'll be facing off against the Steelers. If the Ravens lose against Cleveland, they get to host the Ravens again, who said 31-2. Wasn't even close at any point on Christmas. All right, yeah. So we're in week 17. 4 teams have already played: the Houston Texans, Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, and Kansas City Chiefs have all completed 3 games in the final 10 in the last 10, 11 days of their schedule. Crazy busy. Shout out to the Ravens and Chiefs for going 3-0 in that span. But as we get into week 17, here are the teams that can potentially clinch either the division or the NFC. Like I said, the Chiefs already clinched the AFC first seed, but Detroit can clinch the number 1 seed with a win and a Vikings loss. Right now, the Detroit and Vikings are at the same spot, so they would need the Vikings to lose going into week 18 in order to clinch it, or their week 18 matchup decides the division and could potentially decide the conference if both of them win. Eagles, to win their division, they need a win or they need a Commanders loss. Eagles was right there, had the division in hand, and JD stepped up and was like, not so fast. So the Eagles have another shot to win this week, to take the division top spot. The Falcons can clinch the NFC South if they win and Tampa has a loss. I don't see either one of those happening this week, but if both of those happen, the Falcons, congratulations, they got the NFC South and Tampa is eliminated. If the Commanders win, they clinch a playoff spot. They'll be the 7th wild card seed. Or if Tampa loses, Commanders will clinch the wild card spot, the final wild card spot in the NFC. On the AFC side, the Chiefs win and they're in, or if Miami and Indy both take a loss, the Chargers are in the playoffs. The Broncos will win and clinch a playoff spot. So that would be the 7 playoff spots because they would eliminate the Bengals if they were to beat the Bengals this weekend. So there are no other scenarios thus far on week 17. Week 18, like I said, the Ravens win, they clinch the AFC North. Steelers are already in the playoffs, and if the Steelers were to win and Ravens lose, the Steelers will clinch the NFC North. The AFC North. Sorry. The Packers is playing for. They're eliminated from winning the division. Basically, the Seahawks are basically eliminated from being wild card. Seahawks with strength of schedule, and they need the Cardinals to beat the Rams, and they play the Rams week 18, and that will be for the division. All right, so speaking of for the division, this is my power rankings, but in reverse. So what team that currently leads their division, and I'm going off of current playoff matchups right now. So again, am I bugging for saying this or not? Most likely team to be one and done that currently leads their division. First up is the Falcons. The Falcons currently are matched up against the Vikings. If the Falcons play the Vikings, they're probably one and done, which is not a bad thing if they win the division with Michael Penix the rest of this way and they get a playoff game under their belt. Michael Penix for next year will be coming in pretty ahead of the game, ahead of schedule. I think they waited too long to bench Cousins. Maybe a week or two too late to bench Cousins for them to actually make this playoff spot. But if they do, right now they're currently in the league. If they do happen to win this playoff game, if they do happen to make the playoffs, I got them first team eliminated, well, most likely eliminated as a division leader. Second one, I'm going to go with the Rams just because they have to play the Packers. I think the Packers defense is really great. Rams defense just going up against the Bills, and from what I've seen throughout this season, is very spotty. The Rams offense, however, is really, really good. But again, the Packers have a really great defense. So I think the Packers just match up better with the Rams. So if the Rams get the spot and they play the Packers, I could definitely see them lose to the Packers first round. The next one, we just talked about it, the Texans versus the Steelers. Now, I'm not too high on either one of these teams, so it's a toss-up. It's a 4-5 matchup right now as it stands in the AFC. This is really close toss-up. I think the Steelers defense could do what Baltimore just did to the Texans, and if they do that, they have a great chance of eliminating the Texans from the playoffs. But their offense, I don't know if they're going to be able to score enough points. Now, again, if they do what they did against Ravens, they won't need to because they only scored 2, and that's basically a field goal. All right. So this will be in the divisional round. They don't have a matchup, but the Lions are beat to hell. So the Lions would be my fourth team to be one and done, in my opinion. They've had the fourth highest chance of being one and done. Just because they beat the hell, and they could potentially be playing the Packers, who they've already seen twice, the Vikings, who they've already seen twice, and barely escaped. Well, not Vikings once. But again, these could be two division winner. 2 wild card teams that could win a wild card weekend. They have the highest chances of winning a wild card weekend. So chances are they'll see one of them, and they're not at full strength. Fifth highest team. Like I said, is basically the standings in reverse. The Ravens, I don't see them losing to the Chargers, but that's who they will get in the 3-6 matchup. And, much has been made about Lamar Jackson and to some extent John Harbaugh's playoff records and playoff performances. So they would get the Chargers at the bank. They've already beat them earlier this year in LA. So LA team would have to come over to Baltimore, and they have a good defense, have a good scoring defense. They could possibly, but not likely. Chiefs in their division round. Again, I'm not too sold on any of these playoff teams. And the fourth, let's just say all the division winners win and move on to the divisional round. They will be playing the Texans. I have zero belief that they could beat the Texans. I mean, the Texans could beat the Chiefs. Zero faith. Absolutely. Probably -5% chance of them losing to the Texans. So that's not even likely. Eagles versus Commanders. The Eagles have lost to the Commanders. And right now, that would be the 2-7 matchup. They have just lost to the Commanders. But it did take for a lot of defensive players for the Eagles to go out. And Jalen Hurts had a concussion. But if They're back and they're in the lineup. I love JD, but I do not see JD beating the Eagles at all with a healthy matchup. But again, they played twice and they split 1-1. So they would have a chance, but just not a high chance, in my opinion. And last but not least, Bills versus the Broncos. Again, the Broncos getting into the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, Bo Nix. Congratulations. Shout out. That we're in the 9-year drought of missing the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs since that Super Bowl 50 win. That was the last time they actually was in the playoffs. So I have zero faith that they could beat the Bills, but that's the that would be the last matchup there. So college football playoffs continue and bowl games continue. Today we have football matchups. UConn and North Carolina's playing now. BC and Nebraska's playing now. This one here, Pop Tarts Bowl, at 3:30 on ABC. You got the 13th ranked Miami versus number 18 Iowa State, and then you have the Alamo Bowl, number 17 BYU versus number 23 Colorado. That's at 7:30 tonight. And then on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, you have South Carolina versus number 20 Illinois. You have the college football playoff quarterfinal game, Penn State versus Boise State at 7:30 on Monday. Oh, sorry, Tuesday. On Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, you have number 3 Texas versus Arizona State at 1 o'clock. You have Oregon versus Ohio State. This is the game where I said they need to reorganize the playoffs once teams move on, because this right here could be a championship game. Oregon versus Ohio State pretty much played to a draw last time. There was some clock management issues with Ohio State, but they were in position to actually win that game, or at least tie it, from what I remember last time they played. That game was at 5 on Wednesday, New Year's Day. Georgia versus Notre Dame is at 8:45 on New Year's Day. So those are the college football playoffs and bowl games that I'm interested in seeing. And then, you switch over to NFL. Today, you have 3 games. I'm trying to pull those up right now. At 1 o'clock, you have the Chargers versus the Patriots. And then at 4:30, Denver versus Cincinnati, which I will definitely be locked into because this is for playoffs. Basically, Cincinnati Bengals lose, they are out of playoff contention. Denver wins, they are in the playoffs. And then the nightcap, the Cardinals are already eliminated, but they're playing against the Rams. If the Rams lose this game, Seattle has life for week 18. If not, Seattle is all but eliminated in week 18 for the division. Go to athleticallychallengemag.com. I haven't written any articles on there this week. Happy holidays. Shout out and blessings to my boy Digital. His family is going through a lot right now. I just want to give my prayers and shouts out to Digital for that, for allowing me to use his platform that he created. And then on Sunday, you got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cowboys. Only thing of significance is, again, they win, they clinch the division. But also, Saquon Barkley is 268 away from the all-time single-season rushing record. And he's playing against the Cowboys. So I look for him to last game he had 100 yards in the first quarter. I look for him to continue that trend and at least knock half of that off by halftime. I see 134 by halftime for Saquon against the Cowboys. And then at 4:00, you got Green Bay versus Minnesota at 4:25. And this is a division matchup. This is for Minnesota. Could be a game that puts them right there to win the NFC and have a break. Who could have imagined that? Kevin O'Connell, definitely coach of the year, the way it's shaping up. And then Sunday night, we have the Commanders hosting the Atlanta Falcons. We'll be live tweeting for that game because that one right there is going to be an interesting game. Shout out to my man Michael Penix. Shout out to JD. Man, these two rookie quarterbacks are phenoms. They're going to be quarterbacks to look at for the next few years, man. Shout out to them. And then Monday night, I believe this is the last Monday Night Football of the year. Detroit Lions is playing against the 49ers. 49ers are already eliminated, of course. But Detroit is trying to win the NFC for the very first time in their damn history. Nah, I believe Barry Sanders won the NFC at one point in time. But yeah, Detroit going looking to continue and win, especially if the Vikings lose to the Packers. This could lock up. I believe this can lock up the number one in the NFC, Lord. But man, that is my time for this evening. Well, this morning. You see the ticker. Follow Al U Buggin on X and Instagram at Al_U_Buggin. Like I said, I will be live tweeting, so follow at Al U Buggin. Be blessed, be productive, be more. Love you. Out.